Blood in my mouth. The taste of rust. I remember the stairs, his hands shoving me back, his voice cutting through the fall like a blade. You're worthless, just like your dead father. The concrete steps kissed bone. Something cracked inside me, but not just ribs, something deeper. I crawled. Every drag of my body left a smear behind me. My brother's footsteps didn't follow. He didn't need to make sure. He believed I would stay down, as I always had. But I didn't. I dragged myself to my mother's apartment. Her silence was louder than the blood in my ears. She opened the door, eyes wide, lips pressed tight. She didn't scream, didn't ask, just watched as I collapsed on her floor. Her silence was worse than his shove. Lying there, broken, I saw the truth with clarity sharper than pain. The inheritance was never about money. It was about power, legacy. A poisoned crown passed from a father who loved us unequally. My brother took it, all of it. And when I asked why, when I demanded an explanation, he showed me. With his hands, with his words, with his contempt. Worthless. That word echoed through my fractured ribs, through the stale air of my mother's apartment. I looked at her, waiting for a denial, a protest, any sign that she would break the chain of silence strangling our bloodline. But she turned her face away. That was when I realized it. She already knew. She had always known, and she'd let it happen. Pain is a patient teacher. It taught me to wait, to breathe slowly, to hide the storm beneath a calm surface. When I healed, I began collecting fragments. Not of my body, that was already mending. Fragments of truth. Bank records, transfer slips, lawyer's notes. Every document painted the same story. My brother had bled my inheritance dry before the ink on the will had dried. He carved me out with surgical precision, leaving me nothing but bruises. I watched him from a distance. His laughter in restaurants, his expensive suits, his hollow smile at gatherings where people called him successful. I said nothing, but inside, the silence grew sharp. At night, I would replay his words, his shove, his voice comparing me to a dead man I barely remembered. Each time I let the rage settle deeper into ice. Strategy, not fire. Because revenge, to be effective, must feel like inevitability. The truth arrived not in screams, but in paper. I had the lawyer's folder in my hand. Every transfer, every fraudulent signature, every betrayal sealed in neat black ink. I asked him to meet me. No raised voice, no threats, just, "We need to talk." He came, confident, smirking, dressed like victory. I slid the folder across the table, didn't speak, didn't blink. He opened it, and the color drained from his face. What is this?" His voice cracked, small. I stayed still. My silence became the mirror he couldn't look away from. I did what was necessary. Dad would have wanted." I raised one hand, just enough to cut him off. Calm, cold, precise. His mouth shut, his eyes widened. He understood. I didn't need to yell. The truth was already louder than his defense. I leaned forward, letting him taste the quiet. "You stole from me. You tried to kill me, and you failed." I tapped the folder once, like a judge's gavel. "This is yours now. Your undoing." He shook his head, hands trembling. You wouldn't." But I already had. Copies sent to the bank, to the family lawyer, to the authorities who once praised his success. His empire built on theft was already burning, though no flame could be seen. I stood, calm, detached. "You called me worthless," I said softly. "Now watch what worth really looks like." He reached for me then, not with violence, but desperation. Fingers clutching air, eyes begging. I left him drowning in silence. The same silence my mother once gave me. I walked out into the night. The air tasted cleaner. The inheritance was never mine to begin with. Not the money, not the name, not the approval of a father who buried affection in coffins of duty. But this silence I now controlled, was mine. My brother's wealth, his reputation, his carefully polished lies, stripped away by his own greed. And my mother? She would remain silent, because silence was the only language she ever spoke. But me? I had learned to weaponize it. I am not worthless. I am inevitable. And when the silence closes around him, he will remember the sound of my voice one last time. You failed.